I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah.
Welcome back to Hard NOC Life. I am your host, Britney Monet, and today, once again, it is just me winging it, but I can't do it by myself. So I brought back my podcasting partner, my brother Nate.
America, the beautiful America, the murderer, America, the funeral. Wait for it, Britney Monet. America, God bless America. What's going on, Britney Monet? What's going on, everybody? Happy Colonizer Cotillion weekend. We out here. We live.
We live.
I wanted to come on, Britney, like pulling back the curtain. I wanted to come on and sing like a happy song about America and like the 4th of July and all that, but I'm not really feeling too happy about America this week. So that's what I went with.
I mean, I feel like, most of us haven't been too happy about America for a long time, but it's just this week heightened. So like, if you were already kind of like, I don't know about America, now you're really like, okay. There's just some people who unfortunately are slowly realizing now that America isn't what it is. And, now they're like, I shouldn't celebrate 4th of July. And it's like, did you really ever? I don't know.
It was 4th of July has always just been an excuse to cook out and drink for me. Like,
Yes.
I don't have any political. And here's the thing, Britney, since we already here, I believe in America. I wish America believed in people like you and me a little bit more than it does, but I'm not like beholden to these customs and traditions. And 4th of July has never had any significance or resonance for me, other than usually it's a day off from work.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Or, like you said, just mainly about getting good barbecue food. And, I'm not super into fireworks for some reason. I've never been since I was a kid. I don't know. I think I got traumatized once. So I'm not a huge fan of fireworks. So for me, 4th of July is just kind of like all right. Well,
that's the other thing I hate about this holiday, Britney, is, and maybe this only pertains to certain parts of the country, depending on where you live or where you grew up. But like starting January 3rd at like 11 o'clock at night, you get to play everyone's favorite game. Was that a gunshot or a firework?
Yep.
For the next 24 hours.
January, July.
Yeah, July. Here's the thing, pulling back the curtain. I have some thoughts about a character that might tie back to January when we get to them later. So maybe that's where my brain was already like 10 minutes ahead in the show.
Okay.
I'm like Stephen Strange, Britney. I'm all up in this multiverse of podcasts. My brain is on like 3 or 4 different shows right now.
There's so much to talk about. Yeah, so let's just start off with some of the Marvel news. I saw the first look of, I think, art of Namor for Wakanda Forever. I didn't see everything, but I didn't realize there was like a Black Essence Marvel panel kind of thing happening yesterday. So I found out about it while I was at work, and I was like, oh, that would have been nice to have known ahead of time.
Yeah, like Essence Fest going on. Like I knew Essence Fest was happening. I didn't know that, like you said, Britney, this was going to be a part of Essence Fest. And so, yeah, like I saw the pictures and a little bit of the video, and it was really cool to, see the Dora out there. But yeah, I'm still, despite kind of everything that's going on in the production leading up to Wakanda Forever, I'm still excited for this movie.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I saw like over the weekend that's kind of popped up is kind of a resurgence in the recast T'Challa movement. And I do have thoughts about it, Britney, because I get it. Like T'Challa is a very important character that should not die, for lack of a better term, with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. My thought has always been, though, like, you don't do that in Black Panther 2, though. Like, we need at least one movie to kind of, as an audience, both like in the world of the MCU, but also just us, like people that watch this movie and love Chadwick's portrayal. Like, we need time to grieve. At least that's my opinion. I get it if some people feel differently, but I've always been of the opinion, like, if they switch T'Challa in the second movie, it would have hit me in a certain way. So I'm glad that they decided
Mhm.
not to recast, at least for 2.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still very on the fence of if I want the role to be recast or not. I think just the problem with the MCU, it's like I feel like their gift and curse is that they cast actors usually so well in their roles that like you can't picture someone else in that role. So then it's just like, and especially with Chadwick, like I don't know any actor who brings what he does, who is at least the same age as him that I know of, you know. Like the only other person that I can think of that has that kind of gravitas is Denzel Washington, but I feel like Denzel is, you know, I hate saying aged out, but like I feel like that's the thing. He's aged out of that, unfortunately.
Well, you brought up that last name, Brittany, because one of the people I thought of was John David Washington. What do you think about him?
I don't think he's as charismatic as his dad.
I mean, that's a high bar. Like, you're not as charismatic as Denzel Washington, arguably the greatest actor of our time.
Yes, that's true. No, he is good. Like, I really liked him in Tenet and in The Black Klansman. He's really great in both those movies, but I just feel like I don't know how he would be as T'Challa.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm just like nervous because I feel like he has to bring that thing that Chadwick has that I feel like Denzel has.
Let me ask you another question, Brittany, because I'm glad, like, because I don't think you and I have ever really had this conversation before, at least not in depth. Would you rather them recast, like, let's just say John David Washington, like, let's say in 3 he just shows up and he is the 616 T'Challa. Would you rather that be the case, or would you rather it be a variant or a multiversal T'Challa?
I think I would be fine with the multiversal, like I don't know, because of stuff with, you know, maybe Kang the Conqueror or whatever, he ends up there and we don't know what happened. And, you know, our T'Challa goes off somewhere else. I don't know. It's like I said, it's a really tough situation to walk between. But like you said, I am excited for Wakanda Forever. It sucks that, you know, unfortunately, he passed before he could even, you know, continue on with his journey. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like eventually there's going to be someone else playing T'Challa. It's like, I feel like it's inevitable because there's some point where they can't just like not have Black Panther. And unfortunately, I just really don't like, I don't know how to, I like Letitia as an actress.
Okay.
But
I think there's a but coming. Yes.
But like some of the things she said, it still like, you know, bothers me. Like, I think we've talked about it. Like, if Chadwick, let's say he did survive, but pandemic still happened, you know, like everyone on that set would have to be vaccinated because, you know, them not being vaccinated really would have put Chadwick in much more, you know, risk. If he was still, you know, if he, let's say, was in remission for a little bit, he would still have a lower immune system. So he would still like, you know, so it's just like she would potentially put him at risk that could also like make things worse. So it's just like, thinking of how selfish to me, like, I don't know. Like, I get not being sure what's in the vaccine and all of that, but I don't know, just thinking about how much she could have put Chadwick's life in danger if he had been alive to film for this movie. Like, I don't know, it's just very like, so I think that's what bothers me about her. And I'm like, I don't want her to carry on the mantle, which I feel bad.
Yeah, because if we're going by the story and if we're going by like what's happened in the comics, Shuri does, you know, take up the mantle. So that before all of that happened, like during the pandemic, Brittany, I was like, yeah, I'd be cool with Shuri becoming the Black Panther. But then, like you said, after this, I'm like, I don't know, fam. I don't know.
Yeah, and then she was a huge part of the reason why, like, you know, there was a lot of delays in filming on top of COVID delays in general. Like, she was a huge part of it because she wouldn't get vaccinated, and just so it was just like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad to always talk about that thing that she did. Or I'm assuming she's vaccinated now because they finished the film.
Yeah, like hopefully she has grown out of this, because you know we all can have a bad moment or a bad month. So hopefully she's grown from this, because she was really, really good in the first one.
Yeah, she was really great. So that's why I'm hoping, yes, like you said, that she's grown and learned from this. I don't know, maybe give it to Lupita if it's, you know.
And that's the thing too about, like, if you don't want to go to somebody like a John David Washington or somebody like, in the back of my mind, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, Brittany, being that you love you some Star Wars. I've always been like, yo, like a dope multiversal T'Challa could be John Boyega.
I would like that. I love John Boyega. I just don't know how much Disney would want to work with him after some of the things he said, but I really do like John Boyega, and I would be okay with that. I feel like I would want that a little bit more than John David Washington.
But I think like even with the cast, like you're talking about with Lupita, or like even Winston Duke and M'Baku, like I could see, like maybe not being the permanent Black Panther, but like the Black Panther in this film until we get some version of T'Challa in 3.
Yeah, I hope that's maybe what they'll do, because I do see it growing, and I see more people like, no, I don't want a Killmonger versus Namor, or I don't want like, which I get, but like I agree that it would have been too soon to recast him, especially when it's still fresh for us, and then also fresh for people who actually knew him and worked with him. Like it would be I feel weird to suddenly have someone else in that role like that fast. So, and
I know like the character did mean a lot to Chadwick, and he wouldn't want it to end with him, but I do think there's a balance between respecting the character, but also like you got to give people time to grieve. And I think you need to at least have 2 as kind of our grieving film, because we're already going to be emotional, Brittany, going into the theaters just with everything going around the film. So I think that's the movie you give the audience a chance to grieve, and then whatever you want to do with T'Challa going forward, you can do that in 3.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope that, I feel like I hope this movie won't make a weird device between like the sides of wanting to recast or whatever. I hope this movie does like heal in a way and make us get some type of closure in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. But I am worried that maybe they went into filming too soon after Chadwick's passing for them personally. That's my only thing. I don't know like how much that will affect this film, because I feel like a huge thing that affected, the rise of Skywalker was that they went back into production very soon after, Carrie had passed away. And part of the reasons why they also didn't want to bring Rian Johnson back wasn't just because of the fan backlash, was because Rian wanted enough time to craft the best script he could in between 2 and 3, and they just were more thinking about, let's get the next movie out as soon as possible because they want that money back as soon as possible. But I think Ryan was right. Like they needed more time in between to perfect, because I feel like Carrie's death altered a lot of what they wanted to do for 3, and then they went back into it too soon, and I don't know. So I just hope that Wakanda Forever won't be like their Rise of Skywalker. That's what I'm hoping. It won't be that, because that would be really devastating just because of how great Black Panther was.
To that point though, Brittany, you mentioned one Ryan. The only reason I would disagree with you on that a little bit is because I have faith in the other Ryan, and that's Ryan Coogler. Like I feel like with Coogler and the cast, there's a bit of consistency there that wasn't there with Star Wars, and when they were making that transition between the films. So hopefully, it's a quick turnaround, but hopefully they have had time to kind of give us the best product. And like just from the perspective of people that knew Chad, like they would not want to come out with some mid. They want to come out with the best product they can give us. So even if it's not at the level of the first Black Panther, I think it won't be for lack of the crew trying.
Yeah, as long as it's no Rise of Skywalker, like it'll be fine. That's my only worry, is that it will, be like that. Was there anything else from that we didn't cover?
Namor real quick, because I didn't talk a lot about Namor, but obviously if you've read the comics, Namor and T'Challa, beef is real on these streets with them brothers. So I'm excited to see how they can weave, the Submariner into the story, because he's always one of those characters in the comics that, like, I don't think I've ever met a hardcore Namor fan. Like, I know people that like Namor, and they're like, whenever Namor pops up, they're like, oh, cool, Namor's in the building. I don't think I've ever met like a Namor stan. So I'm really interested to see like what their take on Namor is, and also the reaction from the fan base is once we kind of start to see how he fits into this movie.
Yeah, Namor is one of those characters that I've only like read if they popped up in like other comics that I was reading, but I never went out and read an actual like Namor oriented book. So my back history of him is very, very limited. Like, I don't know. I remember like Namor Rita from one of the like A-Force books. So I don't know. I'm like, who's not going to show up? That's what I'm like wondering. Because I was like, I know her a little bit more than I think I know Namor, which is sad.
No, I can't even front though. Like when I was a kid, like at the comic store, Namor always grabbed your attention because, you know, Batman got the cowl, Superman got the red and blue tights, you know, Black Panther got the all black suit. Namor out here with some swimming trunks on that look like drawers and like little wings on his feet. Namor is like, I don't even need no costume, fam. This how I protect my kingdom. Namor was raw with it. I appreciated that about Namor, even though I didn't really read a lot of his stories.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like a jerk.
He does. He really does. But I'm excited because it's going to bring in more Latinx representation to the MCU, which is crazy because there's so many Latinx MCU fans, and yet like the representation is actually pretty low. So I like to see that. But yeah, I think we touch everything on that because we can.
I think we did.
Yeah.
So long story short, Black Panther 2 is coming, y'all. Get ready for it.
Yes. And I do have my ticket for Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's right. So. Yeah. Feige don't stop. Feige is the pusher man. He's like, if you don't like what I got for you this month, just wait a month. I got something else coming. It's gonna be hot.
Pretty much. I feel like there's at least one movie, or even now from the shows, like there is one that someone can find and they will like genuinely. Even if it's just the one, there is something Marvel has that you will probably like. Yeah. And so speaking of the shows, Miss Marvel episode 4, it's the one where they go to
Karachi.
Yeah. At first I was kind of very on the fence on episode 4. And I feel a lot of my fully not embracing this show is just because I read her comics, at least her first couple runs with G. Willow Wilson. And I loved those so much. And I feel like because I had also a personal connection with Miss Marvel, that like when you don't get the adaptation you want in your head, it's hard to accept the one that they're giving, even if what they're giving is great. So I feel like I'm a little like, oh, okay, I guess on the episodes. But with this one, I was really thinking about it. I was like, you know what? This one was actually really a lot of fun for me. Yeah. So that's my initial like thoughts on the episode.
Ooh, so a little backstory, because I think this is the first time I would have been on here talking about Miss Marvel. So I know a little bit about the character from the comics, you know, mostly kind of like Namor. Like I'd read a lot of Kamala when she'd pop up in other people's stories whenever like she was on the cartoons. Like, oh, that's a really cool character. She's also the leading character, the protagonist of the Avengers game that came out a year or so ago. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I enjoyed it. So like I've always loved the character despite not, you know, being as deep into the lore as you, Britney. But this show, like who's the actress? Iman, is that her name?
Iman Vellani, yes.
Yeah, I love her. She is like the show has even said, like she's adorable. She is now officially in my group of MCU kids that I must protect, Britney. So she's now my niece, right next to my nephew Tom Holland, Peter Parker, because you know I love me some little nephew Pete. So they're in the club. I'm gonna tell you real quick, this got nothing to do with Miss Marvel, but there's 2 kids I'm not sure about if I'm gonna let in the club yet or not. And they're on my mind because I just rewatched Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or Dr. Multiverse, as Vanessa Shark, our dear friend Vanessa Shark would call it. I don't know if I can let Billy and Tommy in my club of kids I need to protect. I don't know how I feel about them boys yet. And here's the thing, I'm sure they nice boys. I saw them on WandaVision. I saw them in Multiverse of Madness. And I can't tell them apart, but like the little boy with the longer hair, that Billy or Tommy? The more aggressive boy.
I think it's Tommy.
Okay, so Tommy, and I don't know how to say this, Brittany Monet, I feel like I would need to know where Tommy was on January 6th before I let him hang with the rest of the kids. That's all I'm saying. He like a little too aggressive to be hanging with my nephew Pete and my niece Kamala. That's all I'm saying, Brittany.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how I feel about them boys yet. They got to go through some more background checks and verifications before I let them into the family. But that being said, like I really enjoyed this show so far. I know there's some differences from the comics, particularly when you talk about the inhuman aspect of it all, and the way that they've defined her powers on this series so far. But I love her. I love her family. I love kind of the cultural stuff. that has been present throughout the show. The visual aesthetic I've been down with. Your boy Bruno out here on these streets.
I love Bruno.
Love me some Bruno. Nakia. I don't know how we're pronouncing that.
I think it's Nakia.
Nakia. She's dope. Like, I love the episode. I think it was last episode where she won the council seat. And, you know, they had the scene where she was going to all the different groups and everything. I think she's dope. But for this episode in particular, I enjoyed it, Britney. Like, I have not had many problems with this series so far. I think my only issue is the issue that I have with all of these Marvel series, in that you have to fit the story into a 6-episode format.
Yeah.
And I feel like this episode, we got a lot of stuff with the grandma and the backstory, and we're still talking about partition, and she's learning her powers, and hey, Red Dagger's in this now, and it's a lot going on. And I'm like, y'all got 2 episodes, man. How y'all gonna do this?
That's always my worry with the shows, because like you said, like I feel like they need to let go of just it only being 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this particular story you're telling can be done in 6 episodes, great. Mm-hmm. But if it can't be done in 6 episodes, I feel like it's okay to like do 8 or 9 or 10, like whatever you have to do to actually like tell the correct and proper story, that where it all makes sense and doesn't feel like it's been rushed or, you know, what have you.
Yeah. And these shows are kind of falling into that trap I think the Netflix shows did, in a sense, Britney, where the Netflix series had to be 13 episodes or whatever the number was.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes there was too much story. And a lot of times we look into Iron Fist, it wasn't nearly enough story for 13 episodes.
Yeah, Iron Fist still upsets me to this day.
But like, I feel like you're right. When they meet with the creators or the showrunners, what's the story you want to tell this season? And then plot it out. And, this story will take 5 episodes. This story takes 7 episodes. You know, this story will take 9 episodes. Whatever the amount is to tell the story the right way, that's what we do, versus trying to fit everything in the same box, because I don't think that's working for me. Like, I've enjoyed, Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Moon Knight and the other, the shows that were 6 episodes, but every show doesn't have to be 6 episodes. And I feel like they're loading a lot of stuff up on Miss Marvel's plate, Britney, and I don't know if they're going to be able to, get everything to where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they should have kept it simple and kept her in New Jersey, honestly, for this season, and made her villains be someone a little bit more local, because I feel like the problem is, since they took a lot of stuff out of her origin, and they're trying to build up to her being a big player in the Marvels, that I feel like they're moving up certain things faster than they should for her like character progression. And so that's why I feel like they're going for bigger with this than like starting off small, where she kind of is like Spider-Man, your local like neighborhood, friendly Miss Marvel, basically. Like, that's what she kind of is in the comics, and it takes a little bit more stuff to build her up to be like, someone who ends up being part of the Young Avengers and things like that. Right. So I feel like they're rushing that aspect, and also trying to really tie into why she ends up being Miss Marvel versus like why she is in the comics, So I feel like that's part of the reason that like it feels kind of like it's moving too fast.
Yeah. I think you either need to save the trip home or the trip overseas for a season 2, or it needs to be longer in terms of the episodes for the series run. Because like, I enjoyed the stuff with her grandmother. Like, I think they're adorable together, but it is moving very quickly. Like I said, like this week we got introduced to the Red Dagger, and my man who was the chief of the Red Daggers, like he gave us the exposition, Britney. He gave us the backstory.
Yes.
And then he was dead before the end of the episode. I'm like,
I know.
I kind of wanted to hang out with that dude for a little bit.
Yeah, I felt that too. It's a lot of things felt rushed. That's what I mean. I feel like so much of her stuff is being rushed because they're trying to get to the reason why she's going to be a big player in the Marvels.
Come on, Britney. We got Brie Larson showing up in an episode and a half. We got to
I
get
know,
this thing moving.
That's what's happening, is like they're trying to introduce. I'm sure she's going to show up on the show in order for it to tie into the Marvels in some kind of way. But it just, like I said, it just feels like they're doing it too fast, where they're not giving her own space to be occur and like grow, and that's what's a little frustrating for me. But
that being said, Brittany, and I'm gonna prove myself to be a hypocrite here because we're both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, if Brie Larson shows up at the end of the series and hits Kamala with "Hey Kamala Khan," like she did with the "Hey Peter Parker," I'm gonna be like, you know what? That's all right by me. Like I'm gonna love it.
Yeah. No, I 100% feel like I would be okay. I want Brie to show up, obviously, because I feel like that's just how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm just like, they're getting there way too fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it takes a minute for actual, like in the comics, for Carol to kind of actually meet up with her, and like, you know, them having the great, like, oh, she's meeting someone who she's been such a fan of. Like it's a long build up to it. So I feel like there's not enough builds up.
We have another sponsor for the podcast, y'all.
Cool.
We do.
Do you have an idea for a great new podcast? You can bring your idea to life and start your podcast today with Libsyn. Our podcast has been on Libsyn for as long as this has been a podcast, and we love using the service. Brittany, you guys over the DCTV podcast are also loyal Libsyn-ites.
Yes, we are. Nate and Andy usually deal with all the back end of that, but we do use Libsyn, and from what they say, it's great and amazing. So yes.
Well, let me tell you about it. Libsyn has everything you need to plan, launch, and grow your own podcasts. It provides some of the best resources created by expert podcasters who will show you everything you need to know, like what equipment to use, how to record audio, how to get your show on Apple Podcasts and other platforms, and much, much more. Plus, as a friend of the Hard NOC Life, when you sign up with Libsyn, you get your first month of podcast hosting for free. There's never been a better time than right now for you to start podcasting. Visit Libsyn.com. Use the code FRIEND, that's FRIEND, and that's Libsyn, LIBSYN.com. Use the code FRIEND, FRIEND, to get started and create your podcast today, friends of the pod.
Yeah. And, you know, like on that, like a lot of people ask, how do you do a podcast? Like people don't do any media stuff before. And they say, well, it's not a tremendous amount of work, but there is one little chunk of technical work that you got to do. But Libsyn makes it pretty easy, I'd say.
That's right. And if you sign up with the code FRIEND, FRIEND, at Libsyn.com, LIBSYN.com, you'll get your first month hosting a podcast for free. That's a big deal.
Yep.
That's the code FRIEND at Libsyn.com. Guess what? Goalie Nutrition is sponsoring Hard NOC Life, and you can go to goalie.com to buy apple cider vinegar gummies, their ashwagandha gummies, superfruit gummies, and super greens gummies, and get 10% off plus free shipping if you use the code HARDNOC at goalie.com. This is honestly, I've been taking the goalie gummies now for a couple weeks, and I have to say, they're tasty and they're good for you. Have you guys been enjoying the goalie gummies?
I really like them. They're yummy, but it's a nice to add to my like routine of already like I normally take just straight vitamin C, so it's nice to have like extra supplements.
For a long time, people have praised the benefits of apple cider vinegar, and you know, as someone who's had to like drink straight apple cider vinegar sometimes when I'm not feeling well, or you know, I have some joint pain, and your mom is like, drink some apple cider vinegar. It's not the most appetizing home remedy, let's just say.
No,
right.
It tastes horrible.
Like the apple cider part is like, ooh, does it taste like apple cider? And it's like, no, it tastes like vinegar. But ACV is very good for you. And the fact that Goalie has been able to put the ACV into these tasty little gummies made with pectin and fruit peels, which make them vegan, which is cool. So if you're vegan, you can still rock these gummies, because everyone knows gummies are usually made out of like gelatin and nasty shit. These are made out of complete non-GMO, gelatin-free, gluten-free, vegan ingredients, and you can get the benefits, all of the benefits of apple cider vinegar, taking these tasty, delicious, convenient gummies. So go to goalie.com and use the code HARDNOC, that's HARDNOC, just like the podcast you're listening to. Get 10% off your purchase of Goalie products and free shipping.
It's a much better delivery device for that apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
These Goalie gummies are great. You get it, and it's a
100%.
delicious little candy. And I've been enjoying the Superfruits one. I did feel kind of refreshed after taking a few of those.
Yeah, no, but I'm loving them so far, and they're definitely tasty. If you just want tasty gummies, at least just eat them for the yumminess.
Yeah. So go to goalie.com, use the code HARDNOC, HARDNOC, get 10% off your purchase and free shipping at goalie.com with the code HARDNOC. Hard NOC Life is being sponsored by Athletic Greens. I want to talk to you about Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Basically all the things. One of the best things about Athletic Greens is that it's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It also contains less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, and it still tastes good. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, that's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is partnering with Hard NOC Media to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. That's athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
So let me ask you something real quick, Brittany, because I do feel like maybe if we remove some of the elements in these episodes, maybe we get a bit more of a streamlined show. So how have you been feeling about Damage Control so far? Because I like the idea, but the execution, they feel really tacked on right now.
Yeah, it feels like I feel like there's too many like villains or like antagonists that she's dealing with, because you have the clandestine and then you have Damage Control. And I feel like even if only just one of them was like the main villain, it would have been fine. But yeah, I feel like with Damage Control and clandestine going on, it just feels like so much they're trying to balance in this story. And I feel like Damage Control actually could have really worked really well as the main villain versus the clandestine kind of being what they're pushing, at least right now, as the main villain. Just because, like I said, I feel like there's so much that they're trying to do with her story and move her up to being on the radar of Carol that like I just feel like it's a lot happening. Yeah,
I like the idea, and I think honestly, and we've already got a bunch of these series, but I think Damage Control might have been better served as its own little mini series almost, rather than
it was supposed to be originally. So when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was still on, there was going to be a Damage Control show, which kind of would have been more in the wheelhouse of like The Office.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the original.
So kind of like what was that? Powerless? Was that the DC show?
Yeah, like that. It would have been something like that, where it's these people who have to deal with the aftermath of superhero events and all of that. So it would have been that, but it ended up not being picked up because they did film a pilot for it, I think, but it just ended up not being picked up. And yeah,
I need to watch that pilot. Sounds interesting.
I don't even think the pilot ever came out. Like it was one of those ones that like they filmed.
Somebody got it. Someone has
somewhere. Yeah, because they were gonna do also a spinoff with Mockingbird from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep, I remember that.
And that dude, and then like Oded Fair was gonna be a part of that cast, and that also like that had a pilot filmed and just it didn't get aired or anything. But yeah, there was a couple of things that they were gonna do with Damage Control basically, and it ended up not happening. So
I mean, imagine like a Damage Control show on Disney Plus starring Tyne Daly. Y'all ain't ready for that. We bring in Cagney. I don't know if she was Cagney or Lacey, but she was one of them. We bring in Cagney and Lacey to Disney Plus. Y'all ain't ready for that.
I don't know. It would have been cool, but I don't know. I do like the introduction of Red Dagger because he's played by Armis Knight. If you know Into the Badlands, he was MK on Into the Badlands, which is a really great show. If you have not seen Into the Badlands, it's really fun. It's like a post-apocalyptic world or America, and he is kind of like
so it's a documentary about 2022.
Honestly. In a way.
4th of July, everybody.
But yeah, he basically plays like someone who has like special powers, and so yeah, I really loved seeing him back because I just love seeing my Into the Badlands people winning and doing stuff. So yeah, I really did enjoy him being on. I just can't remember from the comics though if he actually ends up being a villain and the other guy really isn't a villain, or like I can't remember what it was in the comics, but I remember one of them is set up to be the villain and one is set up to be the good guy, but then it ends up being like the reverse. They ended up being revealed like the other one actually wasn't the bad. Like, so that's why I don't know if they're taking that approach with these characters or not. So that's why I'm kind of like, who's really bad, who's not. I don't know. We'll see.
I kind of don't want either one, Kamran or Red Dagger, to end up being a villain, because I'm like, like, come on, fellas, we just met you guys. It's too early for one of y'all to break bad.
Yeah, but in the comics, that is what it is. But you know, who knows? They change things up all the time.
Save it for season 2, fellas.
But yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I was in like especially if you listen to me and Swar, we were both kind of like hoping it sticks to the landing. We're not sure how we feel, but I really do hope it sticks to the landing, just because it would be a shame if it doesn't, because then you're gonna automatically have people blaming it on the fact that it's because he's Muslim. Like, they're gonna blame it on that versus like, they just didn't tell the story as well as they could have, you know. And I feel like that's what certain people are gonna hype up on.
Well, so I got two things on that, Brittany. One about what you just said directly, and then the other is an episode thing. So I'll get to that in a bit. But I feel like we are still in the place, in a sense, where we were with Black Panther. You know, we talked about Black Panther earlier, where something created or led by a Black person or, a POC person or LGBTQ person has to be like gold standard, like God tier. And we need to get to a place where we can just have okay Black people stuff, or okay brown people stuff, or okay female-led stuff. You know, like, come on, let's be real. Nerds of color listeners, how much average, how much mid, how much it's okay white-led shows are there? And they have a place, right? And so I feel in a way, because I've heard the conversation about Ms. Marvel, and I'm like, I get it, but damn, that's a lot to put the burden of representation on one show that has 6 episodes. And it's like, it's unfair in a way to the people making the show, because it's like, I'm sure they want to make it the best they can, but they can't be the representatives for all things of this culture. Just like Black Panther couldn't be the representative for all things Black or African. And so it's like, yeah, you want it to be the best it can be, but it's TV and it's got a certain limitation in terms of not only budget, even though this is Disney, but in terms of time, Brittany, maybe more importantly, they had to tell these stories. So like, I've enjoyed it. I get that there are flaws here and there, but that hasn't ruined the enjoyment of the show for me.
Yeah, I like the show, but I feel like I said, my thing is that I've actually read the comics versus it just being like because I feel like if I didn't read the comics, I probably would honestly have no like complaints about the show. That's how I feel. And I know I feel like you're always harsher on something that you've actually like read the source material. Like, you know, my favorite Twilight book is New Moon, but like, to me, that movie is like the worst movie in the series. It's horrible. I hate it. You know, and like, I know like Harry Potter is like a weird, like, we don't talk about it because J.K. Rowling messed everything up. But for me, my favorite book was The Order of the Phoenix, and that movie is atrocious. Like, it's so bad. So I don't know if it feels even worse for me watching those 2 movies, because it's like, those were my favorite books, and then the movie versions are just so like such a letdown. So I don't know if I'm even harsher on it because I've read the source material for those 2 existing things. So that's why I'm trying to like trying to remind myself, like, you are being harsher on this when you're someone who's actually read the, like, you know, stuff. Like, my dad really likes the Iron Fist show, but he's never read the comics. And when I tell him, well, it's nothing like the comics, it's terrible, he's like, well, not everyone's read the comics, Brittany. And I'm just like, you know, it's like hard to like argue with him. Like, that's true, not everyone has read the source material. So it's like, and like what I was saying, like, is not as much towards somebody like you who has a connection, right? Like a personal connection with these stories. It's more to the people, like I've seen this week, people are like, Miss Marvel it's representation, but is it good representation? It's like, come on, man. Like, these people doing the best they can with what they got. And it's like,
every attempt is not going to be the best. You know what I mean? Like there are shows that I love. Like we talked about it, Brittany, you and I. Like I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of what Sam Wilson's story means to me personally. But I can see objectively there's some things that ain't right with the show in terms of the way that it was made. So it's like you can be critical of something, but I think there are people kind of going overboard. And maybe it's people that do have that agenda of, I don't want anything black or female or Muslim or LGBTQ in my superhero stuff. But you also have on the other side, I think a lot of people who are probably coming from a good place, but it's like, you can't expect this one series to lift up everything in the culture because nothing's going to be able to do that. If this was the greatest 6 episodes in television history, there would still be a way to find a fault with it because of the medium that it's in. So like, I get people's concerns and quibbles with the shows, Brittany. Yeah. But I'm also like, hey man, give it a little bit of slack. Also, it's aimed at kids too. Like, like my nieces, they don't know. Look here, Brittany, my nieces, they don't know nothing about these comic books out here on these streets. They don't know nothing about these backstories. They don't know nothing about these Inhumans. They don't know nothing about that Inhumans TV series with Scott Buck. The less they know about that, the better. All they know is they watching this little brown girl out here doing superhero things, and they love it. And it's like,
that's fine.
That is a cool thing to see.
Yes. No, I agree that it is especially for someone who's so far removed from the actual source material. Like it is very cool seeing a brown girl, and just in general, and I feel like Iman captures the essence so well of the character that was in the comics. So that to me isn't the issue. Right. There's certain things that I feel like they're streamlining it because they're trying to get to the Marvels more than trying to just like tell her story. And that's my overall issue with it versus it not being like a direct, like, perfect adaptation. But I feel like she's so well in the role that like, but no, I am glad that little, brown girls and even black girls are like relating to Kamala and like seeing themselves in her, because we need that. We need more of that. Yeah. So it is wonderful what it does.
So but then my other thing though, Brittany, was speaking of this wonderful, adorable little brown girl, we end the episode. She back in time. She on these train tracks. It's partition era. What's going on? Like, I was not expecting that's where we would end the episode, but I kind of dig it. And for all like the little nitpicks I have with this week's episode, Brittany, like that ending, I'm like, oh, I want to see where this is going.
Yes, it felt a lot like Moon Knight episode 4, where you're like, oh shit, they're like, they've been in an asylum this whole time. Yes. So. But it's a little different. So you're not like, oh, how's she gonna get back? Like that was my like, oh crap, how's she gonna get back? How's this gonna affect? And you know what I will say? One of the stronger characters and just actors of the show is Kamala's mom.
Yes.
She's so wonderful. I love her a lot. She's really great. I didn't expect. She
feels like genuine and authentic.
Yes, like I want to say that whoever has really like been in charge of maybe crafting her storyline, they've really done such a wonderful job, because I love her mom, and I love the scene even with like the grandma and her, and just I don't know, it's really beautiful. I just have to say that before like I forget that's like one of my favorite things in the show has been her mom.
Yeah, I love her family, and in particular in this episode, like the mom and the grandmother, like their interactions where you can like there's love there, but you can tell there's distance. And we get a little bit into why there's that distance later. I love the grandmother's relationship with Kamala, where and this is not something germane to this show, Brittany. Like I think even in real life, like the older I get, I see the relationship like my parents have with me and my sister when we were growing up versus how they are to my nieces. Like there's that different kind of connection. And so that felt very real in this episode. The only family members of Kamala's I don't really mess with though. Them cousins, Kamala's cousins ain't worth like, come on now. This girl that came all the way over here and y'all left her. Y'all didn't want to go with her to the train station. Brittany Monet. If I were their cousins, like if I've had cousins, when I lived in Virginia, cousin would visit from Texas or cousin would visit from Mississippi. And I'm supposed to be, kind of showing them around. If I got back to the house, like if 2 of us left and 1 of us came back, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Yes.
Like the fact that they just left this little girl in this market, I'm like, come on, y'all did her dirty.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's just a different like family dynamic, but I know very much, like you said, for a Black family, if I did that, I would be in trouble. Like, it's so wild that it's just like, oh, okay. You know, I do like how they did comment on like the difference between like actual like getting Asian or Indian food or Pakistani food from like the homelands, or just being made by like, you know, not the Americanized down version of it. Like, I did enjoy that a little bit too. But her cousins, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if I really care for these cousins that like, I don't know how I feel about them.
I would put the cousins ahead of Damage Control right now in terms of Kamala's antagonists.
Yeah, that's some dirty mess. Yeah, I don't know, but I like to see where this episode goes. Are we gonna see Captain Marvel? Can't wait to see her in her actual like Miss Marvel costume. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, I don't know. I really do hope like they stick the landing with this show, just because I don't know. I don't want the show to like, even if it's not perfect to the comics, I don't want it to be like the show that gets piled on because obviously like brown girl leading the show. So that's why I'm really hoping it sticks the landing. Yeah,
me too. And like I'm having a lot of fun with this show, Britney. Like, it's adorable. It's, especially when you compare it to some of the other superhero fare out right now. Like, it's a breath of fresh air. Like, it's just, it's charming.
Yeah. Like,
and I love the cast. And like you said, like, I hope they stick the landing. They got a lot of work to do in these last 80 minutes, however long they got for the rest of this series.
Yeah.
But I hope they can stick the landing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is definitely a breath of fresh air if you're watching like The Boys like I am. Like this compared to The Boys is like,
I haven't even started the new season of The Boys yet.
I haven't seen the one that just came out this week, but I saw the last episode, Hero Gasm, and it's a show where they put like a warner, like, hey, this might be like triggering for some people, or it might be too horny for some of you, just like putting this warning out. And so with that warning, I'm expecting like, you know, straight up like chaos. And I was like, this was pretty mid compared to the warning they gave out. So whoever thinks that like that episode was wild, I feel like you have.
Brittany Monet might be the only person in the history of television who has looked at The Boys and said, they could have gone a little bit further.
I was expecting it to, and when it didn't, I was just like, all right, okay. But I do like the show, and my complaint still stands that they have not used Crank That Soldier Boy as an introduction song for Jensen Ackles' character Soldier Boy, and it's bothering the shit out of me.
I didn't even know Jensen Ackles was on this season.
Yes, he's playing Soldier Boy, which you'll see when we start the new season. I feel like the casting announcement was out, so I hope like
spoiler alert.
He's on the show. What's just so funny is so many women have been talking about like, or women in like LGBT people who have been talking about how great Jensen is because of Supernatural, and like Supernatural somehow ended up being feminized. So it's like a lot of men don't know that Jensen Ackles is great, and now men love him because they've seen him on The Boys. They're like, oh, where's he been all this time? And it's like, well, maybe you fucking listen to him.
Like, yeah, Jensen Ackles been around for a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, well,
wasn't he on Smallville at one point?
Yes, he was.
He was like the evil football coach.
He wasn't evil. He was just very like not trusting of. Oh no, he turned out being evil because he was working for somebody. And you're like, God damn it, Jensen.
Evil football coach Jensen Ackles.
And then it was like the next year after that, he was on Supernatural.
Yeah.
So that's why he didn't make. But yeah, he was on for like season 3 or 4 or something.
He got all the CW checks.
For real. Which actually some of the guys from Supernatural are like the creative team behind The Boys. So
okay, I didn't know that.
So if you have watched both shows, you will see a lot of like certain things where like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, since you weren't here for the Kenobi discussion, was there anything that you wanted to talk about Kenobi real quick before we wrap this up? Basically,
let's talk about this man Obi-Wan Kenobi, Brittany Monet. So I look like people to know, people who listen to this show and listen to the shows that Brittany and I have done. Y'all know Brittany Monet be out here loving these Star Wars. Me, I used to love the Star Wars, and then I just kind of like, I like the Star Wars. It's cool, but it ain't what I'm running to see when I got free time. So like I watched Mandalorian. You know what I'm saying? Mandalorian was cool. I still got like to catch up. I still need to finish season 2 of Mando. I started Book of Boba Fett and then was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good, Boba. Like, I don't need to know how this story turned out. I can already see we're going to be here for a minute. So then when Obi-Wan was coming out, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot just because I got love for that man, Ewan McGregor. And then when they said your boy Hayden was coming back, I was like, okay, this might be a little fire. So I watched it first couple episodes. I was like, yo, this is dope. And even with all the Moses Ingram hate by the knuckleheads out there, I was like, yo, this is great. And then towards the middle episodes, I don't want to say like I liked it less, but I was like, okay, where is this going? This last episode though, Brittany Monet, I was like, yes, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted right there, because we not only did we get a good story in this series, with the Obi-Wan Vader stuff, but we also, made some good connections to the original trilogy as well as the prequel trilogy. And like it retroactively made the prequels a bit better for me because of some of the work they did in Obi-Wan. And then, we talked about this online, Brittany, when my man, rode up to the farm with a little present for Luke. It was like, hello there. I was like, come on, man. Y'all ain't even had to do that. I was like, yes.
I got so excited when he said that. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I'm okay.
And here's the thing. I was waiting for him to say it. Like when Luke, when spoiler if you haven't finished Obi-Wan Kenobi, but when, Reva brought Luke back unconscious, I was like, okay, when he wake up, I bet you Obi-Wan gonna be like, hello there. And then he ain't say it. And then I was like, okay, he gonna go to the farm and say it. And then him and Owen had a little conversation. I was like, okay, I guess they're not gonna say it. And then Owen was like, hey, Ben, you want to meet the boy? I was like, is he gonna say it? And then when he walked up, like, hello there, I was like, come on. Like, yes, it was something that was like, you could see it, Brittany Monet is like, okay, this is just fan service, but that's the kind of fan service I like, where it was like, we didn't overuse it. We just used it this one time, and it played into that Obi-Wan Luke relationship that we see later in A New Hope. And it's like, you could tell, like, he's like, when he's like, yo, that crazy old man Ben Kenobi, he like, yeah, I met him that one time. He was like, hello there. And I was like, that's weird, my friend of my dad. But I thought Ewan did a great job. I think for all the hate Moses got, I thought Moses did a better job than the Reva character, if that makes sense. I think that there were points where they could have written the character better, but I thought Moses always knocked it out of the park.
She went to Yale for acting. I mean, come on, she better knock it out the park.
Like she's a good actress, people. The little girl that played Leia, I loved her. She was adorable.
Yes.
Well, seeing Jimmy Smith's back was cool, but then the surprise I didn't know I needed out of this whole series, we got O'Shea Jackson Jr. in the building, and you already know, Brittany, they setting up a Roken spinoff series. They got
probably, especially with them talking about him leading a rebellion.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that there'll be some Rebels people showing up because I want live action Freddie Prinze Jr. because he voices my favorite character from Rebels, which is Kanan Jarrus or Caleb Doom, because that's his actual name. He changed his name when, he left. He was kind of a youngling too when Order 66 happened. And he's like Freddie Prinze Jr. So great on Rebels. So that's what I was hoping that, like, I kept waiting for like a teenage, somehow de-aged, like kind of sort of Caleb showing up. I was waiting for it somehow, but it didn't, which I'm glad it didn't, because it would have like kind of deconstructed from like, Kenobi in a way. So I'm hoping maybe they'll do something with Roken. I don't know. But Rebels is a great Star Wars animated show.
It's like, Roken, you still have work to do in the galaxy, Roken. You're right. I'm just getting started, Buster. Like, okay, little Cube Junior. Like, he's like, I think, man, like this show in a way, Brittany, makes me more excited for Star Wars, but with a caveat. Like, if these are the type of stories we're gonna get.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes Star Wars leans way too much on the Skywalker mythology of it all. And it's like, obviously this played into that Skywalker mythology with
yes.
Anakin, but we were able to tell an Obi-Wan story that includes that. So maybe like if we can get away from the Skywalkers for a bit and tell some Roken stories, tell some stories about what happened in the intervening years, I think I might be into that kind of Star Wars.
That's why I think you might like Rebels, because it follows Freddie Prinze Jr. character, Caleb, and Ezra, who is basically like, the only way to describe Ezra is Aladdin, but Star Wars.
Okay.
Like, that's the best way to describe Ezra. And I believe Mina Musood, who played Aladdin in the live action movie, is actually playing Ezra on the Ashoka show.
Okay.
So I'm hoping, because he just would be perfect casting. So yeah,
When's Ahsoka coming out?
I think later this year. I want to say it's after Andor. But yeah,
I'm actually excited for that one too, because a mutual friend, Sister Maria over at Sisters with Sabers, like she be loving her some Ahsoka. So I'm like excited to check that out.
Yes, and I love Ahsoka. I love Diego Luna, who's playing Andor. So I'm just like, I'm excited for all of the Star Wars stuff pretty much coming forward. And then the High Republic book series that I'm reading takes place 200 years before the Phantom Menace. So like, if you want some good Star Wars storytelling that doesn't rely on the Skywalkers, that's like good stuff too. Which I know I push that a lot, but yeah.
And we got my boy Liam Neeson showing up for like 10 seconds at the end, Brittany Monet. It's like, I've been here the whole time, Obi-Wan. You just couldn't see me, baby.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that was just the perfect amount of Liam Neeson Qui-Gon for me. Because I know some people might have wanted a little bit more, but I felt like we're telling Obi-Wan's story here. And I think if we included more Qui-Gon, maybe we muddy up the Obi-Wan story. And I loved just kind of sitting with, like, because when we started the series, Obi-Wan was in the dirt, Brittany. He was in the mud. He was broken down. He ain't trying to help nobody. He couldn't even use his force. He was weak. And then at the end of the series, he throwing boulders at Darth Vader. I'm like, that's my guy. That's my Obi-Wan right there.
Yes, it was so good. I know some people probably already heard my thoughts since I talked about it before, but I just wanted your thoughts since, like, I knew you'd watch the show.
I loved it. Two thumbs up, 3 snaps up, whatever you want to say. I had a lot more fun with Obi-Wan than I thought. Because honestly, Brittany, I thought it was going to be another Book of Boba Fett for me, where I go in with like, okay, this will be cool. And then after a few episodes, I'm like, I mean, it's not bad, but it's just not. It's not it. It's not what I want. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Obi-Wan was like everything that I wanted from a Star Wars show.
I agree. It was perfect. It was beautiful. And I hope that Deborah Chow and team kind of gets to do some more stuff, because they did a great job.
Shout out to that man Hayden too, because I know that brother got a lot of hate.
I love Hayden. I've always loved him. I've always been like on his team since he first showed up in Attack of the Clones. Yeah. So I kind of hope we'll get like a Hayden-led Vader series.
You know what would have made it? The only thing that would have made this better, Brittany, because I loved it. You know, Hayden kind of got that redemption off of this, in terms, like, not from us, because we loved Hayden from the prequels, but there's a lot of people that was hating on this man. They should, and this dude probably don't even want nothing to do with Star Wars, but the dude that played Jar Jar, they'd have brought that brother back, man. Gave him some
he's
love.
on Twitter, and I think he's still like, he got to host some show that's on Disney Plus that's for kids, and it's like a Star Wars, like kind of like Legends of the Hidden Temples type of thing, like something in the vein of like a game show. Well, do you have anything nerd popping for you this week?
So nerd popping, besides a big shout out to the man, I don't even know the actor's name, but we appreciate you, brother. Jar forever.
It's Ahmed Best, I think.
Ahmed Best, because you the best, brother. We appreciate all the work you did, man. Nerd popping, AEW. Talking some wrestling here, Brittany Monet.
Okay.
AEW had a pay-per-view about a week and a half ago called Forbidden Door. Basically, think about it like, if, speaking of Star Wars, like if Obi-Wan Kenobi popped up in an episode of Miss Marvel or in Doctor Strange or in the Avengers, just like, hello there, I'm from another planet. That's what Forbidden Door would have been like, because it was a collaboration between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And New Japan is like the biggest company in Japan, and AEW is the second biggest company in America. And they did a joint show a couple weeks ago. It was really, really good. You can still probably get it. I want to say $40 or something like that, but it's worth the money. The matches are excellent. The storytelling is great. My only issue is the lack of Black performers on the show, which is a issue that AEW has had for a long, long time. But yes, that's my nerd popping. Go watch AEW Forbidden Door. It gets a high recommendation for me, Brittany. What about you, Brittany? What's nerd popping for you?
So I just want to Stranger Things. I've watched the whole season. If you haven't, I'm about to spoil Stranger Things. So pause, jump off. I know you said you didn't care because you'll forget that I said this. There was a character death that felt so underwhelming. He's kind of like an antagonist of the show. He's basically like this jock character who's kind of terrorizing the kids because he thinks basically that D&D is a cult and that they're the ones who are responsible for like basically the murders that have happened this season. And him and his friends kind of like one of his friends jumped on Erica, who was basically Caleb's, if you know who Caleb so Lucas's younger sister
Caleb.
on the show. Erica got tackled by one of his like friends who's like 3 times her size because she's supposed to be like 11 on the show. She got tackled by like a kid who's like probably 16, 17. And then like the boy Jason was like beating up Lucas, and it was terrible. And I was hoping like it would end with him getting like a very like terrible death, but like his death was kind of like if like you blinked you would have missed it. And I was just so like, it felt so anticlimactic to how horrible he was, and like was like hunting one of the characters who a new character was introduced. That was really great. Like it's so bad. And he gets this like he falls on the floor, and basically all the gates open to the upside down. Basically, all the gates open, and when one of the gates are opening, it's like an earthquake because the earth is ripping. Where he happened to fall down and laid, he gets cut in half because of it. But it's very like it's very like if you looked away for 2 seconds, you would have missed it and wouldn't have known it happened. So that's just like my.
So what we established this week is The Boys is not graphic enough for Britney, and a teenager getting sliced in half was not a worse enough death for you.
Because he was horrible. I'm sorry, he was real downright.
You wanted to see him go
person.
out like Shadow Man in Princess and the Frog, just getting dragged to hell.
Something he needed something like more like graphic and more like dramatic, because he was just an asshole and causing unnecessary problems and like I don't know. But overall, season 4 was really great. I hope that with season 5 they're going to actually kill off some of the main kids. Not to be mean, but like you need to give me some more emotional stakes. And I understand you don't want to Game of Thrones it and be like, let's just kill characters for funsies. Like I get it, but like you got to do it. Everyone is so great on the show. All the kids are really great for the most part. Yeah, I don't know. Like Caleb and Pariah, I think that's her name. That's Erica and Lucas. They're so good. I love those two. I love everyone on the show, but yeah, I just don't like Nancy. I'm sorry. Nancy and Jonathan, they get on my damn nerves.
Caleb's great. Like he was in I don't know if you ever saw it. He was in the New Edition movie.
I never got around to it. My mom
as like one of the young New Edition kids.
Yeah.
He was great in that too. And he can sing, I guess. Because I think all the kids did their own singing.
Yeah, he's in a movie that I want to watch that I can't watch because my mom will get mad if I watch it without her. It's where Idris Elba actually plays his estranged dad.
Oh, wow.
He's like a cowboy.
What?
Yeah. And he teaches them how to like lasso a horse and all this stuff, what it looks like. I don't know. I want to watch it.
Didn't Idris Elba also do a cowboy movie where he was like a black supernatural cowboy man? Is that the same movie?
I hope it's not the same one, because it's not. Though when you watch the preview of it, it doesn't look like it's that.
Okay, because I think this was like a Stephen King adaptation that Idris Elba was in.
Okay. He's
like a black supernatural cowboy man. That's how I remember it from the trailers, at least.
It's gonna be fun if we're thinking of the same movie and it's like, and we're both misremembering it
wildly wrong. It has nothing to do with being a cowboy.
But yeah, they're in a movie where they play father and son. But yeah, that is my nerd popping basically.
Nice.
Where can our listeners find you on social media?
Well, Brittany Monet, it's wonderful as always to link up with you. Shout out to everybody out there in Hard NOC Nation. I appreciate it. Keith, we still ain't settled this, man. I know you out there listening, Keith. One of these days, brother, we need to get up on these microphones and have a conversation. Shout out to the good brother Dom. I ain't got no problems with you, Dom. You good in my book. But Keith, one day, sir, you and I will have a conversation. No, seriously, you can check me out on Twitter at @8 MOZAIK, at Nate Mosaic on Twitter. You can check out me and Britney, the archives of the Naomi podcast, as well as the Black Lightning podcast and the Lituation Room, which should have new episodes up later this summer. You can check that out over at DCTV Podcast. Me, Britney, Clement Bryant, and Vanessa Shark, who you guys and girls heard last week. And I'm also at Post Wrestling, the NWA podcast, which looks at pro wrestling from a Black perspective, as well as the Rocky Maivia Picture Show, chronicling the work of Dwayne Johnson, at @8 MOZAIK, at Nate Mosaic on Twitter, and the Patreon, Kings of Sport. Patreon.com/Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door. Brittany's been on the Patreon, and you should listen to all of our episodes, including a Hamilton watch along, which feels timely this weekend, Brittany Monet.
Yes, I feel like Keith wouldn't find it hilarious because he likes Hamilton. So yeah, that is a good worth to watch. Listen, it's great. Yeah. Well, besides obviously the Naomi podcast stuff, you can find me at Hi Brittany Monet on Twitter and whatnot. And you can follow the Nerds of Color at Hard NOC Media. You can check out the nerdsofcolor.org. We are on YouTube. We are pretty much everywhere we can find podcasts and whatnot. I am sorry, I'm still not as great as Keith at signing off this podcast. But until next time, Nate.
I think the movie you're thinking about is Concrete Cowboy, and I'm thinking about The Dark Tower.
Oh, okay. So we were definitely two different movies. Aha.
Two different Idris Elba cowboy movies made within a year of each other.
That's so wild. Oh my God. Whew.